During the first 11 months, nearly a full year of Donald Trump's second administration, the support that he's received from his fellow Republicans has been enthusiastic and unanimous and overwhelming, and has allowed him to accomplish many of the things that he wanted to do. So what's happening right now? Because what you hear about, and it's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene, described now by President Trump as Marjorie Trader Greene, or brown, because he says she's rotten, and brown is the color of rotten. In any event, with all of that, what's going on with Trump's waning support from that MAGA coalition? One of the most insightful pieces that I've read about that is by Matt Lewis, who is the author of Filthy Rich Politicians and Too Dumb to Fail. He is also the host of the Matt Lewis Can't Lose podcast and YouTube channel. His columns appear in the LA Times, his most recent, or one of his most recent columns in the LA Times, 5 Reasons the GOP is Finally Bucking Trump. Okay, first of all, Matt Lewis, thanks for joining us on the show. But what's the most persuasive evidence that Donald Trump is losing some of his grip on the Republican Party?
Well, I think that we've seen a pattern now. It started probably with the bombing of Iran, where you had people begin to criticize him publicly. And it sounds like a small thing, but for a guy who effectively was a cult leader, to have anybody calling him out on his own side, influencers, opinion leaders, and also Republican politicians, I think was a big thing. It really escalated with the Epstein files, where you had initially 4 Republicans, led probably by Thomas Massie and the aforementioned Marjorie Taylor Greene, who were insisting, much to Trump's chagrin, that the Epstein files be released. And then we had it with uh, the Obamacare subsidies, and it now appears that Republicans are going to be forced to put out something. We'll see how that shakes out. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, was, I think, pushing Donald Trump from an America First populist standpoint, because premiums were about to double. And so we see that Trump is now doing things he didn't want to do. He didn't want to release the Epstein files. He's releasing them. Didn't really want to fix Obamacare. He wanted to repeal it. There was really no plan to replace it. Now, at least Republicans are saying that they're going to have a plan for that between now and the end of the year. So to me, those are signals that Donald Trump is beginning to loosen his grip. And of course, it's dangerous to say that, because a lot of us have thought from day one, Donald Trump's never going to get away with this. He can't call John McCain, make fun of John McCain and POWs. He had the whole Access Hollywood thing, and he managed to always fail forward. But it does seem now, finally, that gravity is reasserting itself, albeit too slowly.
No more Defying Gravity as a theme song for the White House. In terms of President Trump's situation right now, one of the striking things about the 5 reasons that you give for why this is happening at this point in our history, several of those 5 things are things that the president can't really do anything about, like the fact that he is term limited. He can't run for re-election, and he's 79 years old. How is that working in
Yeah.
terms of loosening the grip on the Republican Party?
And I think that's actually the best answer to your first question is, why is this happening? And why now, after all of the sort of, I don't know, people saying falsely that Trump was losing his grip. Why is it real now? And I think it's because, what you just said, that these are like real things that you can't talk your way out of, really, right? You can't talk your way out of being 79. He's going to be. He is now the oldest president sworn in. Biden was older when he left than Trump is now, but you know, you can't sort of talk your way out of it. There's no power of positive thinking that gets you past that fact. And so I think that Trump is now hitting these realities. And so the first one, as you noted, is that he's a lame duck. Um, I guess some people think being a lame duck by definition means that you can't get anything done. But to me, really, it just means that you can't run for reelection. Everyone knows it, so they start jockeying for position. And I think we've clearly seen that. People are thinking past Donald Trump. They're imagining he's going to be leaving. And so how do I want my brand to be or my niche to be after he's gone? And if you're an opinion leader, this is happening. If you are a politician, this is happening. And Trump tried to actually tamp it down, I think, by talking about running for a third term. Look, those of us who believe that liberal democracy is precious, we want to be vigilant. And if someone jokes about a third term or references a third term, which would be unconstitutional, I think we have to take it seriously. But the truth is, Trump is probably teasing or trolling us with the third term talk because he doesn't want to be a lame duck.
No, I mean, he clearly doesn't. He wants to comment on everything. And that's part of what you write about in your column, is he is so much involved in uh, disputes that aren't really necessary or relevant. He gets involved. There's another pardon today, a controversial pardon of a Democratic congressman who has been indicted for bribery, Cuellar. Is that part of the adjustment that needs to be made here, is to concentrate more on his big promises about a golden age in the economy, or solving another war, or bringing peace to the world? What needs to be done to try to right the ship, or is it simply too late for the Trump administration?
Well, look, yeah, I think for the Trump administration, uh, probably a lot of it's baked into the cake. I really think the key is going to be affordability. That is what I think hurt Donald Trump and Republicans in the 2025 elections. We just had an election earlier this week, a special election in Tennessee, where the Democrat lost but overperformed Kamala Harris's numbers by 13 points. And the Democratic candidate said it's because of affordability. That's the reason why. I think if Democrats are able to take back the House, and maybe even now they're saying, a lot of people are saying maybe even the Senate next year, it will be because of prices. It will be because of affordability. And to be honest with you, I think the problem, again, are issues that Trump kind of can no longer control. So some of it has to do with his tariffs. Now, it's possible Trump could back off the tariffs as he's done to a certain degree already, and it's possible the Supreme Court could end the tariffs. But Trump is a firm believer. This is the one thing he's really been consistent about his whole career. He loves tariffs. He believes in tariffs.
He
And
says he loves the word. It's a magic word for him. Tariff, tariff, tariff.
and let's and a lot of the damage is done there already. And I think other things like AI are starting to make a difference and cost jobs. So even if Trump went on good behavior and started to change things, I kind of think it's too late.
Obviously, the situation with Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning from the House of Representatives, and resigning with some very spirited criticism of Donald Trump, somebody that she had a worshipful attitude toward in the past. To what extent is the breaking apart, apparently before our eyes, of the MAGA coalition, is that the kind of thing that can be corrected, changed, altered, or reversed? We're speaking about that with Matt Lewis, the author of a column called "5 Reasons the GOP is Finally Bucking Trump." One of the things that I thought was a very strong visual image for where we are right now was at the cabinet meeting earlier this week, which was televised. And they were going around the table, as they always do, with the various cabinet members giving extraordinarily lavish praise to President Trump. Greatest president we've ever had. No one has done more. He's been so noble, so helpful. Marco Rubio was sitting right next to him and going on passionately about what a great leader Trump was. And it was unmistakable. Trump was sleeping.
Yeah.
He was nodding off. Matt, did you have take note of that
Yes.
phenomenon?
No, I mean, look, on one hand, who can blame him? But he's old. He is. I don't think he's well. Um, and he's got a busy and important job. It takes a toll. Look at the before and after pictures of presidents. Lincoln. Now they might have sweated the job a little more than Trump does, but it does take a toll. But the other thing that comes to mind is Marco Rubio, who is someone who was a vehement opponent of Donald Trump back in 2016, and I think had a very different worldview. I voted for Marco Rubio, by the way, in the Virginia Republican primary in 2016. And now to see him be a Trump cheerleader, but I also think it's indicative of the fact that the Trump coalition, sort of like Ronald Reagan's coalition was big enough to include Pat Buchanan and Bill Kristol, or Trump's
And
coalition.
Eldridge Cleaver, if you remember that.
Trump's coalition is big, and I think it's even more unwieldy. And so I think that Trump is this glue that holds these disparate figures. I mean, you've got like RFK Jr. sitting next to people who like eat McDonald's 3 meals a day. It's like, how can this coalition stay together? And I think the Marjorie Taylor Greene represents a wing of the party that's at odds with Rand Paul or whoever. So not only do I think that Trump has a problem keeping this together, but once he's gone, I think the whole thing blows up.
And what about J.D. Vance? He's been strangely quiet recently, has he not?
He has, and I actually think that has to do mainly with I don't know if you remember the controversy a couple weeks ago where Tucker Carlson, my former boss, had Nick Fuentes, a white nationalist, on his podcast.
And Holocaust denier.
Holocaust denier, the whole, he runs the gamut, not easily, pigeonholed in terms of his racism. And this became a big, blow up on the right. The Heritage Foundation was involved in the whole controversy, and it became a big story. J.D. Vance went quiet around that time, and it's partly because this guy Nick Fuentes, the Holocaust denier, white supremacist or white nationalist, he hates J.D. Vance. And it's because J.D. Vance is married to an Indian American woman, has a son named Vivek. And so Nick Fuentes is basically saying, like, how can you be the great leader of white America when you're married to this, Indian American woman? And J.D. Vance apparently doesn't want to criticize Fuentes because he knows that Fuentes represents a large block of supporters in the Republican Party today, which I think is a scary notion. But that apparently is the reason why J.D. Vance has been sort of keeping under the radar.
There is another factor that you have written about, which is 2 words which can greatly reassure and relieve worried Republicans. And those 2 words are primary deadline. Explain.
Right. Well, so if you are a Republican congressman or politician, right now you're not worried that you're going to lose to a Democrat, because that almost never happens anymore. There's like 20 seats there's 435 members of the House. There's probably 20 of them that are vulnerable to losing a general election. Maybe more if there's a big blue wave. But what you're really more afraid of is losing a Republican primary to a more Trumpy MAGA primary opponent. And so right now you're going to keep your, powder dry. You're going to suck up to Mr. Trump. But once those deadlines expire, the primary deadlines, you will then be liberated. You'll then be free to say and do what you really want. So if you think things are bad for Trump now, that he's starting to kind of lose control over the caucus, they will become a little bit more brave once those deadlines expire.
Okay, meanwhile, speaking of primaries, earlier this week, just hours ago, really, Mike Lindell of MyPillow announced that he's planning to run for governor of Minnesota. How does the Trump administration react to that? Is that a good thing or a troublesome thing for MAGA world?
Well, look, we did see Trump enter. This is part of the reason Marjorie Taylor Greene went off the reservation, to use a politically incorrect term. It's because Donald Trump went to her and said, Marjorie, you cannot run for the U.S. Senate. You're going to lose and you'll be an embarrassment to us. And so that angered her, understandably. I don't think Trump cares as much about the governorship of Minnesota as he does about who controls the U.S. Senate. So my guess is they say, go for it. Have some fun, and we'll see how it plays out. We'll see, as Donald Trump often says, we'll have to wait and see how it turns out.
And yeah, usually we have to wait 2 weeks
Yes.
for it to turn out. If you were advising Team Trump, and I know you're not about to, but what can they do to consolidate the kind of united Republican support that they need to survive or to continue control of the House and the Senate?
Wow, it's almost an unthinkable question because, number one, Donald Trump doesn't take advice and eschews wisdom. And number two, like I said, Michael, I really think so much of it's baked in the cake now. I mean, I believe in deathbed conversions, right? You can always turn things around, but so much of what we are heading into in 2026 is, the predicate has been has been laid. So I don't even know, even if they took, really, let's say we brought in Karl Rove or someone, and so let me tell you what you need to do. Like, not only is Trump just constitutionally incapable of listening and following any sort of advice like that, it's a lot of it, I think, might even just be too late. I mean, Trump can't suddenly make me think he has character, or that he's, cares about the rule of law or the Constitution, and I think the price thing, the affordability issue is, even presidents who are diligent, who earnestly try, could not get control of inflation and prices for decades, and here Trump is exacerbating the problem. I just don't know if he can put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, once you've gone to the level of saying we've got to get rid of people, meaning Somali immigrants, because they're garbage, that's kind of hard to leap over. Matt Lewis, his most recent columns are linked at our website at MichaelMedved.com. You can also follow him at the Matt Lewis Can't Lose podcast and YouTube channel. And his columns regularly appear in the LA Times and in The Hill.